Have you ever wondered what happens to the former US presidents after they leave office? Do they go back to their normal lives, or do they still enjoy some of the perks and privileges of being the leader of the free world? Well, today we are going to explore how former US presidents traveled secretly and what rules and protocols they had to follow. One of the most obvious benefits of being a former US president is that you don't have to fly commercially anymore. You can travel in style and comfort on your private jet or a government-provided aircraft. But there are also some drawbacks and challenges that come with this privilege. For example, you have to follow a no-drive rule, which means that you are not allowed to drive on public roads for security reasons. This rule was established after the assassination of John F. Kennedy, who was the last president to drive on a public road. The only exception to this rule is former President Jimmy Carter, who is known for flying commercial and taking public transportation. He even flew on a Delta flight from Atlanta to Washington, D.C. for former President Trump's inauguration in 2017. Another challenge that former US presidents face is that they have to travel with a security detail, which consists of Secret Service agents and other personnel. This is because they are still considered public figures and potential targets for threats and attacks. The Secret Service is responsible for protecting former presidents and their spouses for life and their children until they turn 16. The taxpayers cover the cost of this protection thanks to the Former Presidents Act of 1958, which also provides funding for their expenses such as pensions, staff, office space, and travel. The Secret Service has to coordinate with local authorities and other agencies to ensure the safety and security of former presidents and their entourage. They also have to deal with the logistics and challenges of traveling to different countries and regions, especially those with unstable political situations or hostile relations with the US. One of the ways that former US presidents traveled secretly was by using code names and call signs. These are assigned by the Secret Service and the White House Communications Agency and are used to identify and communicate with former presidents and their families. For example, former President Barack Obama's code name is Renegade, and his call sign is Sam 44, which has stood for Special Air Mission 44 since he was the 44th president. His wife, Michelle Obama, is Renaissance, and his daughters, Malia and Sasha, are Radiance and Rosebud. Former President Donald Trump's code name is Mogul, and his call sign is Sam 45. His wife, Melania Trump, is a Muse, and his son, Barron, is a Marksman. These code names and call signs are meant to protect the identity and location of former presidents and their families and to avoid confusion or interception by unauthorized parties. The code names and call signs are also chosen based on the personality, preferences, and achievements of the former presidents and their families. For instance, Renegade was chosen for Barack Obama because he was seen as a rebel and a risk-taker, while Mogul was chosen for Trump because he was a successful businessman and a media personality. The code names and code signs are also kept secret from the public and are only revealed after the former presidents leave office. Another way that former US presidents traveled secretly was by using decoy vehicles and aircraft. These are used to distract and mislead potential attackers or intruders and to create diversion and escape routes. For example, when former President George W. Bush traveled to Iraq in 2003 to visit the US troops, he used a decoy Air Force One, which was a Boeing 757, to fly from Andrews Air Force Base to Baghdad International Airport. The real Air Force One, which was a Boeing 747, flew to a different destination. The decoy plane was also painted with the same colors and markings as the real one, and the same call sign was used. The switch was made in midair and only a few people knew about it. The decoy plane landed in Baghdad first, and then the real one followed shortly after. The landing was also done in complete darkness and silence to avoid detection by enemy forces. This was not the first time that Bush used a decoy plane to travel secretly. In 2001, after the 9/11 attacks, he used a decoy plane to fly from Florida to Louisiana, while the Air Force One flew to Nebraska. The decoy plane was also a Boeing 757, while the real one was a Boeing 747. The use of decoy vehicles and aircraft is also common for other former presidents, such as Bill Clinton, who used a decoy helicopter to fly from the White House to Camp David in 1998 during the Monica Lewinsky scandal. Another way that former US presidents travel secretly is by using diplomatic immunity and privileges. These are granted by the host country and the international community and are meant to ensure the respect and protection of former presidents and their delegations. For example, former presidents are exempted from customs and immigration checks and are allowed to bring their vehicles, weapons, and equipment. They are also given priority access and clearance to airports, roads, and other facilities. They are also entitled to receive state honors and courtesies such as flags, anthems, and escorts. They are also expected to follow the protocol and etiquette of the host country and to respect its laws and regulations. However, diplomatic immunity and privileges are not absolute and can be waived or revoked by the host country or the international community in case of serious violations or crimes. For example, in 2012, former President Jimmy Carter was denied entry to Sudan by the Sudanese government, who accused him of supporting the rebels in Darfur. In 2019, former President George W. Bush was sued by an Iraqi citizen for war crimes and human rights abuses, and the U.S. Supreme Court refused to grant him immunity. One of the reasons that former U.S. presidents travel secretly is that they have important and influential roles and responsibilities. Even though they are no longer in office, they are still considered goodwill ambassadors and representatives of the U.S., and they have to uphold their duties in diplomatic relations and international affairs. For example, former presidents often travel to attend or host summits, conferences, meetings, and ceremonies where they meet and interact with other world leaders and dignitaries. They also travel to support and promote various causes and initiatives, such as humanitarian aid, peace and security, democracy and human rights, and environmental and economic development. They also travel to visit and honor the U.S. military and veterans and to express their gratitude and appreciation for their service and sacrifice. Former U.S. presidents have traveled countries for peace and humanitarian missions. Former U.S. presidents have traveled extensively for various purposes. For example, Jimmy Carter visited over 80 countries for peace and humanitarian missions, while George H.W. Bush traveled to Kuwait, China, and Germany for commemorative events. Bill Clinton went to North Korea to secure the release of American journalists, led U.S. relief efforts in Haiti, and attended the funeral of former Israeli President Shimon Peres in Israel. One of the benefits that former U.S. presidents enjoy when they travel secretly is that they have more freedom and flexibility. They can choose their destinations, schedules, and activities, and they can also have more personal and private time. They can also travel with their families and friends and enjoy some of the perks and pleasures of being a tourist. For example, former President Bill Clinton and his wife, Hillary Clinton, have traveled to more than 120 countries since they left office, and they have visited some of the most exotic and beautiful places in the world, such as Taj Mahal in India, the Great Wall of China, the Pyramids of Egypt, and the Machu Picchu in Peru. They have also participated in some of the most adventurous and exciting activities such as safari in Africa, skiing in Switzerland, and golfing in Scotland. Former presidents have traveled for various reasons. George W. Bush travels to Africa to combat AIDS, malaria, and tuberculosis, and to paint portraits of wounded veterans in Botswana. Barack Obama traveled to Cuba to restore diplomatic relations and to Vietnam to launch a leadership program for young Southeast Asians. Donald Trump traveled to Saudi Arabia to attend a summit of Arab and Muslim leaders and to Singapore to meet with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. He also visited India to attend a massive rally and the Taj Mahal with his wife. So you can see, former US presidents travel secretly in many different ways and for many different reasons. They have to balance the advantages and disadvantages of being a former US president, and they have to deal with the challenges and opportunities of traveling in a complex and changing world. They also have to maintain their dignity and legacy and contribute to the common good and the national interest. They also have to enjoy their life and have some fun. After all, they deserve it, don't they? That's it for this video. We hope you learned something new and interesting about how former US presidents travel secretly. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to get notified of our latest uploads. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video. Bye.